A Navy Ghost Story. This happened in the mid-2000s when Ellen was doing overnight shore duty in one of the naval bases. It happened on board a ship, which makes it more interesting as most of the stories were about doors, cams, and landed stuff. But the ship for this story was tied alongside one of the harbor queen. Back then, every ship had to contribute a team of officers and men to look after the ships tied up in the jetty. Each jetty will have their own duty team, and by sunset, the gates to the entrance at the jetty will be closed and guarded by officers and men. So whoever needs to stay in or check in late in the night, the guard room will know, and it will be informed to the rest of the team. That night after sunset, guard room confirmed that there were nobody staying in overnight in the ships. Only the duty team were on the jetty. Normally, there would be a few duty walks around in the ships to check for the conditions, and more depending on the status of the ships. These walks will be done by officers and men at different times. After the usual drills and duty brief, the team broke off to check the ships in their respective charges. On that fateful ship, Alan was having a cigarette break with his friend Ron on the quarterdeck, which was near a door at the back of the ship. The door was opened, and you can see the walkway at the doors for the officers' cabins, which are closed. The ship was running on shore power and was well lit and ventilated. Halfway through their cigarette break, both of them unmistakably heard the sound of a door latch move, like one of the doors of the officers' cabins were in the process of opening. It was quiet, and besides the humming of the machinery, this noise was very strange. Both Alan and Ron heard it. Alan was concerned that maybe someone was staying on board but forgot to register with the duty team. He also knew that no one would stay in because that ship had been without an assigned crew for months, and nobody would be staying in when you do not have your personal belongings nor sleeping stuff available on board. Concerned, the two men walked to the 3 or 4 doors that closed a cabin each and tried to pry open. None of the doors, as they had expected, opened, as they were locked when the ship was docked. Ron did the same thing to ensure all doors were locked, and both were satisfied. They heard the sound. Being experienced, they were aware of the usual sounds that they heard every day at work, from machines to men. That sound were from the footfalls with safety boots walking on metal deck, and then to another deck which has a different material for flooring because it was a weapons compartment. And it came from below the main deck where Ellen and Ron were. Straight away, they radioed the guard room to check whether any personnel staying on board, unknown to them or the duty team, had men on the ship without their knowledge. Both were negative. They proceeded down to the deck below to investigate. Both of them walked up and down a couple of times, walkway, weapons bay, a crew mess plus opened up toilet cubicles and lower bay compartments, and found not a sign of life. Both men looked at each other. They heard the sound scenes from the quarterdeck, but could not find anybody. There was no way anybody could escape past them because the paths were isolated. Anybody who passed by would have been caught within an arm's length. While pondering the next step in the weapons bay, one of the sounds that any duty crew feared came. That was the unmistakable sound of a watertight door with wheel handle door latch being moved, and the CIC door was right in front of them, no more than a few meters away. Therefore, the only way to make this sound, since there was no one in front of the door, was to make it from inside. But it was sealed shut, and there was no way anybody could have walked in without breaking the seal of the lock, which was still intact at that point. Straight away, they rushed up to the main deck and radioed the entire duty watch.
Drop what you are doing and gather on board this ship as soon as possible.
In a matter of minutes, the duty watch had assembled, partly because they were listening to his communications over the radio waves to his senior watch officer and guard post on this strange situation. They then contacted the ship's recent officer and requested permission to open up all the compartments, including the CIC, to check for possible intruder. The officer gave the go-ahead. The duty watch was then broken into teams of 2 to check for every compartment. Half an hour went. All teams came up and reported nothing. The duty watch resumed their duties, leaving Alan and Ron perplexed. They had a smoke again at the quarterdeck in the quiet and thinking, how should they report this incident to their superiors? Then, out of nowhere, came again the door latch noise from the main deck with the 4 doors. What do you think? How would you have reacted if you were Ellen and Ron?